Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your pain, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome back to another episode of Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I am here with Norton. What's up, dude?
What's going on, man? It's been a little bit.
You muted? Is my headset off? You might be muted.
Am I muted?
I can't hear you. I just heard you fine. So I don't know if this is a me thing or a you thing.
Am I muted?
Did it unplug? So you can hear me. We'll let Norton fix that currently, but what we are doing today is we have some waiver wires after an exciting but dull week 1. We wanted to talk about waiver wires for your team to prioritize. We had some injury news that we'll start off with today as well. And we also wanted to talk about the good, bad, and ugly for each of our preseason predictions. Let me hear it, Norton. You good?
Can you hear me now?
No. Did I
Dude,
mute
what
you?
is?
No.
I wonder if you have me muted because I can hear myself.
I do not hear you. You're muted. Now you're not muted.
Am I good?
I can't try going without the mic or checking your settings. See if that helps. It's so weird because you were just fine. We were just talking pre-show.
Yeah, it says blue microphone.
What I'll do right now, Norton, what's up, Albert? As you kind of keep working that and you just say test and just keep saying test while you're working on whatever, and I'll make sure to let you know. But what I'll do currently is kind of go through some of the news that we had from week 1, which again was like one of the lower scoring weeks that we've seen in recent years. J.K. Dobbins tears his Achilles, out for the year. This was rough. This, I think, was one of the tougher pieces of news that we had. Obviously, the one right below as well, but it's not only is it tough if you drafted him, just kind of feel for the guy after he tears his ACL, comes back from that and tears his Achilles. Really tough. We'll talk about some guys that we might think are fillers for J.K. Dobbins, but rough piece of news to start. I mean, it was really to start the season. Aaron Rodgers, another one that we all had immense amounts of hype for. As you could see, Norton's wearing his, I think it's Garrett Wilson jersey. Yeah,
it's a Garrett Wilson.
And,
can you hear me?
He tore his Achilles, which was rough because this was on the 3rd or 4th play of the game. A lot of videos came out. Kind of everybody had a feeling. You could see it on Robert Saleh's face. Rough. They had Super Bowl aspirations. Now they're rolling with Zach Wilson. I don't think Zachy is going to make the waiver wire list today, but kind of pushes a lot of the Jets down on your rankings. It makes Garrett Wilson a little bit tough. It makes Mecole Hardman didn't really step on the field, and it makes Alan Lazard really tough to put in there. But the running backs may step up a notch. Brees looked great. A couple more guys that hamstring has taken down Deontay Johnson and Greg Dulcich. Both were quoted without a few weeks. I think Dulcich might even be out longer than Deontay. From what I've read is they're going to take it very slow with him. This is the same hamstring issue that he had last year. Deontay it said multiple weeks. So I'm expecting I would guess maybe week 4 at earliest, but Dulcich, I'm actually thinking it might be quite a bit until we see him again on the field. Austin Eckler dealing with an ankle issue, possibly high ankle sprain. Let me see. Okay, so maybe it's mine.
Can you hear me?
I don't know why I wouldn't be able to hear you, Norton. My thing just told me bad way.
Can you hear me?
Let me double check something here. Go ahead and talk. I have the YouTube up. Double check something here.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead and talk. I have the YouTube up. Double check something here.
Can you hear me?
What is going on?
That is super weird though, especially because we were talking before. It was working just fine. Can you hear me now?
Okay, talk one more time.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, dude. I think I hit mute on my keyboard, and this has been the issue the whole time.
Yeah, I was wondering. I'm like, what is going on? I checked every setting. I'm like, what the hell? I was like,
everything on the thing here in the front, but like the only thing I could think of is when I turned off the headset, I put volume up, which would unmute it. Oh, I hate myself. All right,
it's all good. It's all good.
How was your week 1, dude?
Mixed bag. Probably more bad than good, I would say, in terms of my leagues. I think I probably lost more than I won. But I would say probably 60-40.
We have a segment today called The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. And I mean, if we're not roasting each other, we should just be roasting each other in that segment. So that's what's going to happen. It's going to be true. All week 1 overreaction.
Absolutely. You got to love them.
I can't believe I was going on mute while you were just probably like test. And I'm like,
I was thinking about it. I'm like, dude, whoever is listening, because I went onto YouTube.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I went onto YouTube and I checked, and I'm like, I can hear me. And I'm like, shit, they probably just heard basically 5 minutes of me and saying, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, everyone.
Dude,
this is a player fuck up.
Hey, it happens. It happens to all of us, dude. It happens to all of us.
All right, so Austin Eckler dealing with an ankle issue. How do you think this affects him for the rest of the season? We'll talk more about who you're prioritizing on the waivers later. We'll save that. Does this concern you about his health throughout the rest of the season?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's hard to. So even if you dip him a little bit, like I think we had talked about it earlier. There was a post from one of the more respected like fantasy doctors out there and talking about like the usual timetable for a high ankle sprain, if it is that, being 1 to 3 weeks plus usually a 20% kind of dip. Even after that, we saw it in past years with
JT.
Big Ten guys. Yep, JT. We saw Kamara, I think the previous year. Obviously Michael Thomas's ankle issues have been going on for years, but no, like it scares me. Something. Yeah, it can be something. It's hard. I mean, the thing is, like, it's hard to really trade or sit him though. I mean, still,
I would trade him. I wouldn't trade him for much of a discount. I would just try to. It doesn't seem like this news is that crazy right now.
Yeah, true. He might be able to get still a high end guy. So I wouldn't blame anyone if they wanted to go ahead and look to moving him.
Aaron Jones dealing with a hamstring issue. He made it sound like it's not a big thing. He said it wasn't a hamstring pull after the game. Just a little tightening up is what he said. Does this concern you for Aaron Jones?
If it was something that was just like basically a cramp, I mean, most people who have played sports know, like when you're playing and you get that muscle cramp, whether it's a calf or a hamstring or something, you can feel it tighten up. If you don't push it, you shouldn't do any kind of it wouldn't do any kind of major damage. Now, when you push it and it starts to get to where it's actually straining and tearing a little bit, that's the part that can be really tricky. So if it's not actually a strain, I'm not worried. It's hard to really tell, though. It's hard to really know that. I guess you got to take him for what he's saying at this point. But if we start to see it pop up again, it could be something, because those are kind of things that can pop up throughout the rest of the season.
I think it's pretty scary for Aaron Jones. One of his strengths obviously is how quick he is, how fast he is. We saw it in this game. We saw how explosive he is. Even a tight hamstring is not a full Aaron Jones. I am a bit nervous, but I don't want to overreact with either of these guys, but I wouldn't feel great right now. Both of these injuries are not fun to have for the season. Jacoby Myers in concussion protocol, likely going to miss next week. Any key points there? He went off.
Yeah, I was gonna say took a massive hit. Had him just really just laid out.
Yeah, that was at the end of the game.
Yeah, it was towards the end of the game. He took it was a scary hit the way he was laying and just like his eyes and everything. So keep an eye on that. Obviously, it's tough to see anyone take a hit like that, especially he had a great game.
The last piece of news here, good. I put a little good story for us. Panthers signing Tariq Cohen. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if it's going to impact fantasy at all, but rooting for him to make the team.
You got to root for the guy. He's been through some really, really tough, horrible injury luck over the past few years. So, rooting for him for sure.
I agree. It's a good story. It's glad to see he's back out there. But yeah, let's get into. We have our first segment, first ever doing it. The good, the bad, the ugly. What we're going to do here is kind of talk about everything. We might just be overreacting a ton because it's week 1. You overreact a ton anyways. So
exactly.
The good, bad, and ugly about your preseason ranks. If you want to kick off with your good.
Yeah. So I would say my good was me being so vocally high on Anthony Richardson throughout the offseason. I just kept hyping him up, kept hyping him up for fantasy, saying this guy's going to run. He's going to be a top 10 quarterback as long as he runs. We saw him this weekend.
But you got to see. Yeah, it was different. Yeah. But it was great. Now, I'm not saying that you were wrong, because I think this flips weekly probably. But you got to see the thing that you weren't counting on. It was 10 for 40. But the 24 for 37, 223.
Dude, this is what's crazy. So if 37 pass attempts, 10 runs, so he accounted for 47 plays himself, right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't even count any possible like dropbacks that were sacks or dropbacks that were pass interference either. So we're probably looking at 50 plus plays.
55 Dude, probably max. He's a part
ridiculous.
Of everything. He's a part of.
He's the.
How many snaps? Yeah, how many offensive snaps usually average? I think is 61. I think I just saw in a post.
Yeah, and so it was just drop back and let him do whatever he wants. Yeah, dude. Oh my god, you don't even understand how much I love that. Like
the fear is he's got to protect his body better.
Yeah,
he's got to protect his body. Trevor Lawrence, I don't know if you saw the quote that he had to him at the end of the game, but he said, "Dude, you made some unbelievable plays out here, but this is the NFL. This is a lot different than college. You got to protect your body better."
Yeah, no, I mean for sure, and like obviously that is always a concern. Anytime you expose yourself to hits from big fast guys, like it's not advisable. But obviously he's got a big body, big frame. Obviously anyone can get injured on any play though. So I agree. Like I don't want him taking hits. But we've also said that same thing kind of about Josh Allen, his reckless nature throughout the years, with Josh Allen running, hurdling guys, flipping, bulldozing people. Like he plays reckless.
And that's not even a knock against him. That's just what I want. I just want him to protect it a little bit better. If Trevor Lawrence is telling him that means like, you gotta get down a couple more times.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to say, I think I saw another stat that he had the most designed QB runs on the weekend. I think it was like 6 of his 10 were design QB runs, which is very encouraging because obviously then they're designing run plays for him. Last year, I think the only 2 that were over 6 a game were, I think Hurts had like 8.1 or 8.2 and Fields had like 6.2. Both of them obviously top 5 fantasy QBs. So yeah, I'm all in. Obviously, was already all in before. I mean, I think
Fields had
top
like
10's a
1
lot.
this week. Fields
Yeah.
had 1. I'm going to go with my good here.
Mhm.
And I put the good, not great yet. And I know I'm kind of probably getting us out of an order here, but I figured we'll go good, good, bad, bad, ugly, ugly.
Yeah, you got to.
The good, not great yet. Jordan Love, baby. 15 for 27, 245 yards, 3 tutties, no picks, 3 for 12 on the rushing. I added that in the line. Look, I put the good, not great because I did rewatch this game. It's not even looking at the stat line. Some of the throws he made were absolutely impressive. His composure is great. He throws hard. He does things with his body that tricks defenders. There was a great tweet I saw about him kind of like staring down with his eyes, but his body was towards who he was throwing. I think it was Romeo Dobbs. I loved it. I loved every bit of this first opening. I don't think Chicago's defense that bad. I get that Aaron Jones helped them out on a couple of plays. He looked athletic. It was fun to see. It was a really fun time to watch him play.
Yeah, no, I agree. He looked pretty good. Obviously, every QB, especially young ones, are going to miss some throws. Like they show the one with to Musgrave.
That's brutal. It was brutal.
Yeah. So but the thing that says to me is almost like they could have been massive for Love, if you know. So like,
I just think this offense is going to be. He's a good coach. LaFleur is a good coach.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I will say I was really low early on, and I had steadily moved him up throughout the offseason, and I still think I'm ended up too low, probably. So I'm excited.
I don't think he's going to get
this week.
Yeah, he's. I don't know if he gets 3 touchdowns weekly, but again, I just love the coach. Who's your bad? What's your bad so far after week 1 and kind of? You know, it's one of those like I'm still in, but I'm a little bit nervous here. It's not looking great.
Yeah, I think this is like kind of perfect for me with the one that's not horrible, but it's not looking great. I'm still in Kyle Pitts. My Kyle Pitts exposure. It's so frustrating, dude. I mean, Arthur Smith, dude. I just need him. I need to see though, like, because Pitts still had all the same things that.
Yeah, his air yards were great. You can look at
air
those.
yards are good. All the underlying stuff is still good.
All season.
I just hope that this defense lets up more points, and they're gonna have to throw more often. Like my hope for this team is that they're, yeah.
I have talked about that with friends, and I said, but the thing is, this defense or this team will go down. This happened to the Browns last year. They went down, and there's actually a quote of Arthur Smith saying, "We're going to run the shit out of the ball." And they were down, and then they came back and won. Like, this is Tennessee Falcons, whatever you want to call it. This is the same game.
Atlanta Titans, like you said, Tennessee Falcons.
Yeah, dude,
it's frustrating. I mean, it's definitely frustrating. I mean, I don't know. I want to see a game where they throw 25 or 30 times. Like, I just want to see.
That's insane, Albert. Yeah, he's 15 of 18. I don't think Ritter is. I get his stat line wasn't good. I mean, he was 15 of 18. I think he had 107 yards. I don't think it's on him. I think he's doing exactly what Arthur Smith is telling him to.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I mean, it's just frustrating. I mean, you spend this kind of draft capital on Pitts in London, and then you throw him like 4 passes the whole game. I mean, obviously you spend the kind of capital on Bijan too, and he was heavily involved, which was encouraging. But really, like, you're going to give Tyler Algier all these touches. I mean, I know Tyler Algier has been fine for them, but dude, you spent this kind of draft capital on these 2 monsters. in the pass game, and you're going to give them this kind of usage compared to a 5th round running back who's second on your depth chart. Like, what are you doing? I mean, you obviously won, so you can't really question him, but I don't know.
The
I want to see a
GM,
game
the
where they're
GM
down.
and the head coach. It's funny because he hired him, but like they're not on the same page, man. They can't be. Like, this isn't what you would expect how to be using these guys that you spent this huge capital on. Now, obviously, they just got Bijan, so it finally seems like, okay, I'll give you what you want. Here you go. Here's Bijan. But
Right.
I don't know. Weird.
Who, by the way, looked nasty.
He did. And Tyler Algier looked good. The bad for me, Alexander Madison, little concerning for me. So they faced off with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I do think that Tampa Bay Buccaneers still has a pretty good defensive line. I think their rush defense is decent, but 309 yards per carry on 11 carries, 4 targets, 3 receptions, 10 yards, saved his day with a reception touchdown. Not only like the volume's fine, it's the production and what happens if he doesn't start producing better. That concerns me. Has another tough matchup this Thursday against the Eagles. Their defensive line isn't going to give up much. So it's going to be a rough start to the season for Alexander Madison, which is a little rough for me.
Yeah, for sure. He was kind of in that group of guys where like it made me a little nervous because like I didn't completely fade, but like usually I was taking receivers in that range where it hit all the, the supposed volume running backs. Obviously Damian Pierce's, Miles Sanders, Madison, all those kind of guys. I just felt like those kind of guys are the ones that are somewhat at risk. Like I felt like a lot of those guys are going to end up busting, and a couple of them will hit. I'm sure. Like a few of them will probably.
Miles
be
Sanders
fine.
looked pretty good.
Yeah, he was fine. He was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all those kind of guys concern me a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to really fade them too much, though.
No, because if he gets four, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean.
I was gonna say until they actually like lose work, like
yeah, like
I think it's a perfect one for that spot. Yeah,
I'm content with this amount of work. 4 targets, 11. Obviously, maybe give me one more target, a couple more carries. I'd be really happy. But if he starts losing the job, it gets worrisome. So go ahead with your ugly. Because I think this is a dad bod ugly. I think
I think so.
Because you and I were the highest.
Yeah, we ended up being the highest, which we were still out directionally.
Directionally bad.
I moved him up a lot, but not enough. And it was Calvin Ridley. Fading Calvin Ridley for me is not looking good. I mean, 97% route participation, 35% target share, 49% air yard share, 50% of end zone targets first game. This could be a monster year. We might be looking at a top 8 receiver, possibly. Maybe. And yeah, top 10, top 8. He looked really, really, really good first game back. So hats off to him.
I don't know if this is a dummy double down moment. I had him ranked 21, which again is comparatively lower to consensus. I don't know if I'm completely sold. He got shut down the second half.
That's fair. I mean,
and they needed him.
Yeah. I know here's a question for you. Garrett Wilson or Calvin Ridley for you rest of the season?
That's tough, dude. If somebody offered me Calvin Ridley, I wouldn't do it yet. I don't
know if I would either.
That sounds stupid.
Very close. It's very close for me. I mean, I had them way apart. Well, not way apart. I mean, I had Wilson 8. You had him higher than I did, and then I had Ridley probably 21, 20 in that range, same as you. And now we're looking at them after 1 week of play, right? About the same. I bet you a lot of people would take Ridley over. Most people probably would.
My whole vibe is killed now, dude.
I know. I even got the jersey on. It's just
why? What?
I know.
What cruel world, fantasy gods? Why?
Yeah. No. I mean, it's frustrating. Unbelievably.
We had Bowser sing a song for this guy.
We
And
did.
now it's doubling. It's Wilson squared now.
Yeah, more than one Wilson is too much Wilson.
Yeah, especially that one.
Yeah, that's the one you don't want. That's the one you
We don't want
definitely
the
don't
MILF Hunter.
Exactly.
We want
are not
Shroomy McRogers. We want Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
100%. That's the only way to go.
Why?
I know. Maybe an overreaction, but I bet you a lot of people would take Ridley over Wilson.
I think so too. I'm going to go with my ugly so we can get to the waiver wires. And I'm sorry we had such a long intro here. My ugly for myself is my Cam Akers hype. Oh, was that freaking placed? And I think it's worse than everything we've seen. Let's talk here. 35% snap share, not good. You wouldn't be happy about that in a normal world. But then you go to his line and you say, oh, he got my dog in the background is dancing. He got 22 carries, dude. He got the work. And you're like, wow, I'm real excited about that volume. I think he had one target. He had 29 rushing yards on those 22 carries. And he saved a day with a rushing touchdown. He was out snapped in the first half, 26-4.
Yeah.
The first half, he was 4 for 10. He had 4 carries in the first half. So my thought is he was given burner carries. He is the second back here.
Yeah, he really was. I mean, like it seemed like most of his carries, like you said, came in the second half, kind of garbage time-ish a little bit. And dude, he's another one of those in that same group where it was like made me nervous. And we've seen like McVay do some weird shit with him before, and like
this was another one. This is so weird.
Like no one would have expected all of a sudden just Kyron Williams to come out and be the guy all of a sudden. Not like
this, right? Like I guess he had a great preseason. I can understand it, but that first half was weird, and I think more indicative of what to expect in closer games. I hate it.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
It was something crazy because they just pretty much shut him down the second half, which was also kind of odd. I don't know if this was like McVay trying to bring out the competition in them. I don't know what it was, but nothing about Cam Akers' day would instill faith and confidence in starting him in your fantasy football lineup. But I know we're going to talk about Kyron Williams here. So with that being said, let's get to, is this the right? Oh, some waiver wire ads. Norton. So we got some QBs. Do you want to go one by one, or should I list them all out and we'll talk about them individually?
We can list them all out if you want. Because I kind of put them in my preference, but I mean, they may not be your preference. So
yeah. Well, so you have number one, the man, Jordan Love.
Jordan Love, baby. Yeah.
What is do we need to go further on Jordan Love? Because we talked about him a little bit. I'm going to try to settle my dog. So go ahead and I'll be right back.
Yeah. So like you said before, Jordan Love, 23 fantasy points, first game, 245 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah. So he, I don't know. He was top 5, top 10 QB?
He was QB number 3.
Ooh.
I think.
Yeah.
Hold on. I may have been looking at like a 6-point scoring or something, but I think standard would be 3-point scoring.
Yeah, he was 3 from what I see.
Baby. Nom, 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 nom.
Let's say you're eating that up. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy because it's not a ton of yards.
Yeah, no, for sure. There wasn't a whole lot of guys with a ton of yards, actually. It was weird.
It was just a rough week, dude.
Yeah, it was
not a lot of touchdowns. I think it was the lowest touchdown since 2017, which is interesting because that was the last really big rookie draft.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, he's playing Atlanta, I believe.
Yeah.
At Atlanta, which I always like when QBs are playing in domes. I don't think Atlanta's defense is as good as they may have seemed in week 1. I mean, it was Bryce Young's first game. Panthers are kind of a mess in general. So, and they ran the ball a lot, obviously. So we'll see. But I like his chances of being good again in week 2.
So let me ask you a couple questions here. Would you start Jordan Love or Danny Dimes? Danny Dimes goes against Arizona.
Whew. I'm sure I'd
isn't
stick with Danny Dimes.
Okay. So we're talking about maybe the Aaron Rodgers replacement.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I mean, I'm honestly not probably starting him over any of the big like top 12.
Right around the 15 mark is where you're at.
Yeah, I would say, but he's the kind of guy that, in a league where you had Aaron Rodgers, he'd be a guy I'd be looking to pick up.
We're going to go a little bit quicker on some of the quarterbacks here, but Sam Howell, I think I want to spend more time on Sam Howell than the other 3. So Sam Howell, not a bad day, 200 yards, 1 passing, 1 interception.
Basically a typical Sam Howell.
And then he had a rushing touchdown, which actually really elevated his day because, I mean, you had 6 to that.
Yeah,
he had a fumble lost, but he only ran
6
twice.
of his 16.
Yeah, he only ran twice.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think so. He kind of got a lot of buzz late in preseason. I was a little bit excited about him to see what he would do. I'm less excited about him than I was. I was expecting him to run a little bit more. I mean, I guess you never know. Obviously, he ran for a touchdown, so it kind of buoys his thing here. Yeah, as you can see here, we got the roster rates.
My bad.
So
I messed this up a little bit.
No, you're good. You're good. So yeah, he. I mean, he's an interesting one. Who are they playing in week 2? It's Denver, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like that's kind of a matchup where it's like middle of the pack to me. I prefer Jordan Love over him, and I mean, one of the names that we didn't have on the list because I only listed guys that were like under 50% rostered on Yahoo, and was Brock Purdy. I would take probably over both of them right now. Him and Love is close. I think Love has kind of more upside, but yeah, I mean, for this week, I'd take Purdy over them both. But yeah.
I think so. Derek Carr is on this list. If he's out there, I think he's worth an ad. Just that offense looked great.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford looked he looked like himself, even without Cooper Kupp. The interesting one, I think, that's on here from you, Ryan Tannehill.
I know. Well, it was funny too because I was right. Yesterday, Robbie was it you or Robbie that was talking about Tannehill looked so bad? I think it was Robbie, right? In our group chat, and
I think so.
And I was like, man, I just submitted my article as him as like the lead of the streamers for QBs. Obviously, I'd take the other guys over him, but I wanted to write him up a little bit just because he was so bad in week 1. But to me, he's a little bit interesting because he is going against the Chargers, and we just saw what Tua did to the Chargers, and it's more
okay.
Streamer. More of a streamer 2 QB kind of situation. But yeah, I think he's going to do better than what people are thinking. Like, I think he's going to bounce back a little bit this week. He's going to have game script probably in his favor against the Chargers. I'm guessing they're going to pass more than expected, and he'll probably have a better day than people are thinking after how brutal his week 1 was.
Sneak peek. This is my DFS lineup. It's not Tannehill, but I mean, this is the matchup that I'm focusing on as the heart of my DFS lineup this week.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah,
Chargers are always a good one to go to.
It is, in Tennessee's secondary looked just as bad. Their secondary looked bad. Austin Eckler's not going to likely play this game. Mm-hmm. Tennessee's rush defense is great, and then it's going to be Tennessee shooting from down a lot. So I understand the streamer appeal with what you're saying. He's definitely not somebody that I'm like, oh yeah, I want to roster him long. Let's get over to some RBs, and we're going to kick off with your first one. which is Kenneth Gainwell. Now I'm going to get the list here, but I really wanted to just get to that. I did not participate in practice 2 days already so far, but this was wild as hell. Comes out, gets the first 5 touches of the game. What was this?
Absolutely wild. Like I couldn't believe that he I mean, there was some late buzz in the preseason about him being more involved than we may have thought.
Was late.
Yeah, and kind of boosted him up a little bit. He's a little bit more rostered than you'd think. But yeah, man, he looked good. Got a ton of snaps, ton of touches. Rashad Penny was a healthy scratch.
So this is your number 1 running back to target. Even at this moment where he's at, and now I get it because like you probably haven't changed this, but he's at 2 missed practices so far. They play Thursday.
So, I know. So here's the thing. So it's close between him and Kelley for me. So like him and Joshua Kelley is really close. And what were you gonna say?
I hate both of these.
No, it's fair. I understand. It doesn't. None of them feel necessarily great. But the thing with Gainwell was,
I think there is one great one here.
Okay. I'm interested to hear.
I think you're gonna be like, it's not great.
I'm assuming it's one of the Baltimore guys, maybe.
I don't think it is.
Oh, damn.
Because I don't know what to do there either.
Dude. There's so many that I don't know what to do. Like,
so let's I'm going to kind of fast hit these and then we're going to talk about them as a collective whole. I think that's where we're going to go here. So you have Kenneth Gainwell as your first. Second, you have Josh Kelley. We're going to kind of just do a group talk about this. Josh Kelley is hardly owned in any rosters. He's under 20% in all of them.
Correct.
Had a monster day.
Yep. And Eckler's banged up.
5.69. Eckler sounds like he might miss 2 to 3 weeks. He's not even for sure ruled out this week, but it sounds not great. This is your second guy.
Yeah, if we get any more news, I mean, obviously the waivers run tonight most. So I probably will go Gainwell first. I think he has the most long term. So, but then Kelley. If you need one right away, maybe go Kelley. But to me, they're top 2. But
this one feels safer than the first 2. Gus Edwards.
Yeah, I think there's less upside than those 2 though, because you're playing. I was already down on Dobbins as is. I had Dobbins outside the top 20.
Playing bad. I mean, he wasn't rushing very well.
Well, that's the thing is like I already had Dobbins outside the top 20 because he has Lamar as a QB. Now you could say the same thing with Gainwell, having Hurts, but Gainwell got 4 receptions and 4 targets in that game. Like, I think it's designed for Gainwell being a smaller back to get some more open field kind of touches like that. I don't think Gus Edwards is going to catch. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say Gus Edwards doesn't catch 4 passes in any game the rest of the season. Like,
JK had 3 targets and 50% snaps.
Yeah, but I think
it's got to be more promising than you initially thought, but I still understand.
But that's the thing is like even 3 targets, 50% snaps. I think Edwards and Justice Hill both being there is probably going to be 50% each, and Hill will probably be the guy that's more likely to get the pass work.
Understood.
I'm sure Gus will get some. You know, it's not going to get nothing, but
Kyren Williams as your number 4, 52 rush yards, two receiving yards.
The weirdest stat line I couldn't figure out.
Gus Edwards, dang Albert, dropping the hammer on me. Gus Edwards has 18 catches in his career.
That's what I'm saying, dude. That's
wild.
He's going to be very, very like even more touchdown dependent than I was talking about J.K. Dobbins being in the beginning of the year. Like Dobbins, I could see the path to getting 30 to 40 catches. Gus, he's gonna average probably 1 catch or less a game. I think honestly, I don't think he gets 20 receptions on the year. So he's touchdown or bust most weeks.
This is who I would go with. This is my number one. This is my number 1 priority of running backs for me. If I need a running back, I'm going Kyren Williams. I think what we saw with Rutgers was a desperate. I just think something weird. That second half was one more shot at the starting job, and he didn't get it done.
I can understand that. My worry with that is that we've seen him fluctuate so much with running backs that Kyron may be in less than a month be worth nothing. I mean, we saw Darrell Henderson last year come out and be the starter off the rip, and then next thing you know, he was cut by the end of the year. Like it's just so, to me, it's so scary trying to get any of them. That I will say, I obviously have them in between Gus and Hill, like in this ranking. I just think that, and the other thing is, I don't think that Kyron, like I don't remember if you listened to the one with Chris Towers talking about running back targets on the Rams over since like after Gurley's been gone. It's the lowest target share to running backs of any, and that includes all the running quarterbacks, which makes me to think it's more by design than anything. And Kyron, dude, the weird thing, I still don't understand how this. He had two receiving yards with 0 catches. So someone can explain that to me. I guess I don't really understand. I've been looking around for it. I looked on multiple sites, and they all said 2 receiving yards with 0 receptions. I don't know. It had to be some kind of lateral situation or something.
Oh, you're probably right.
It had to be, but yeah, he didn't have any catches either.
I have watched most games. I haven't got to jump into the Rams, but I've been rewatching them. I didn't get Sunday Ticket this year, so I've been using NFL Plus, and I have not got to this one yet. But when you look at Kyron Williams, I think you talked about this is where I want to talk about these as a whole right now, as the RBs as a whole. Mm-hmm. I prioritize him because I think he has the highest upside. When you look, Kenneth Gainwell's close, but here's the problem and what could potentially happen with Gainwell. He misses this game. We get a DeAndre Swift backfield against Minnesota Vikings. You telling me that DeAndre Swift isn't going to capitalize on this? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, I prefer Swift as a talent for sure.
Oh yeah.
It's just it's weird.
And then Kelley's a rental.
Yeah, possibly. I mean,
he's not good. He's a thumper.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing: if Eckler is out this week, who are you ranking the highest of this group?
If Eckler's out,
yeah,
no, it's not Joshua Kelley.
You're not ranking Kelley above Gus Edwards?
Oh, not at all. Not against. Well, let's talk about multiple things here because Joshua they're going against Tennessee. Tennessee rush defense is too good. It always will be. They play Derrick Henry every year. They look at every other running back as a bite of a piece of cake. They're like, oh, you're little. We've been seeing Derrick Henry for months. You're tiny.
Yeah, that's fine. But do you think so? You're telling me though, if Austin Eckler is playing, where are you going to rank Austin Eckler?
Well, I'm not going to go crazy with it because he catches passes a ton.
You don't think Kelley is going to catch passes if Eckler's out?
We have seen Kelley get significant snaps, and now that we've seen him he goes 16 for 91. I don't know why that's shifted. He is a thumper. This is year 4. He had 1 target on the day, and that was them being down.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand it. I guess I can understand the more long-term possible appeal with Kyron because obviously there's more of a chance Kyron takes over the backfield than Kelley takes over the backfield. I 100% agree with that. Kelley, though, to me, I guess it's somewhat of a difference in philosophy in the sense that I'm playing more for right now. Like, I mean,
but it's going to be a bad week. It's going to be a bad week. Don't do it. Don't put Kelley in the lineup.
I mean, the thing is, though, if for example, I'll use an example of my own. For example, I have a situation where I have when I drafted, my team is stacked except for my RB2 because I had Jonathan Taylor. And this last week, I had to throw out Jalen Warren as my starter. I had Devon Achane, Jalen Warren. I have a bunch of those kind of guys, right?
Yeah.
I do have Zach Moss. He's on this list.
If he plays, he might be one of the sneakiest ones,
right? Because they're playing Houston. So, but Josh Kelley's out there, and I'll tell you right now, I'm putting in the waiver for him because here's the thing: is that if Josh Kelley, if Eckler doesn't go, I feel better about Josh Kelley than getting Zach Moss in a possible timeshare off of an injury in a offense where Anthony Richardson touches the ball 90% of the plays and probably not going to throw to Zach Moss very much at all. Kelley without Eckler, I would think 75% chance he outscores Moss in that situation, just volume wise.
I want to add to something here. Kyron does see San Francisco this week. Gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough there too. That's not a good matchup. I don't think Kelley or Gordon have good matchups.
The Gainwell thing, I will say the Gainwell thing. Obviously, it's worrisome. I think Gainwell to me has the most upside long term. He has the same kind of upside as Kyron. Like they're both in situations where
it's almost the exact same.
Yeah, it doesn't seem, but Gainwell's in the better offense by far. He's in the better offense by far, and he got more pass work, which was kind of contradictory to my normal thought of with running quarterbacks. But he got 4 targets to Kyron's 0 or 1 no target.
And I want to say 2 of those targets were on the first drive. If
Kenneth
that helps,
Gainwell.
Yeah.
Which
I watched that game, and I'm pretty positive that he had 5 touches, and it was 3 carries and 2 receptions.
Yeah.
He got 2 receptions.
I'm pretty sure because I remember we were talking about it. But that's almost a positive to me because they clearly like the first
scripted.
Like
it doesn't make sense. It was like Sirianni was trying to play chess. And he was trying to be like, oh, Bill Belichick's not going to expect this, which he wasn't because Gainwell is Gainwell. I don't think he's as much of a thumper as Kelley though. But
no, he's not. He's not. Gainwell's more of a shifty guy than he's a little bit smaller, shiftier than Kelley. But that's why
Kelley is going to be a wasted waiver here, dude. I think he's going to be wasted.
Yeah, I can understand that. I just think that to me, if you're running back needy, I won't mind taking him.
Understood.
I mean.
I do have some deep ones if you wanted to hear those too.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you have one more point on Kelley?
Well, I was going to say with Gainwell too, like with Gainwell versus Kyron, both of them have a chance to take over the backfield without injury. That's a difference to me with them and Kelley. Kelley is, to me, like I said, short term. I know you don't like the matchup, but if he does get the full workload, I'll feel better short term.
Lost Dobbins and redraft have number 1 waiver. Gainwell, Kyron Williams, Joshua Kelley, Puka Nacua, and Jacoby Myers are available. Who would you prioritize? Don't need an immediate starter. I mean, for me, I think Jacoby got quite lucky this week. Maybe I'm buying into the hype too much, but it might be Puka for me.
If you don't need immediate starter, for me it goes Gainwell, Kyron, Jacoby, Puka, Kelley. But if you need a starter this week, obviously he doesn't need one, but I would go Gainwell, Kelley, Puka, Kyron, Jacoby. But
Puka easy for me is number 1. But I hear what you're saying. You're worried about Cooper Kupp coming back. What does that do for Puka? But we don't know Cooper Kupp situation, and we don't know what this offense looks like when he's back. I think there's the uncertainty would push me to go Puka. This is how we both think though. Like there's times where I'm way cautious about certain risks, and you're like, no, this is a great buying point. Maybe you're out buying Cooper Kupp. Meanwhile, I'm over here selling him. Like this is our difference in philosophy where I'm like, I like the upside of this guy because I don't know if Cooper Kupp's coming back. That's a tough decision.
It really is a tough. I mean, and that's the thing is like, if you don't need an immediate starter, I think Kelley falls to the bottom. Like
he has to.
Because Kelley to me is like we talked about the one that you'd want to use right now if Eckler's out. That's the way you go, or if you're really desperate at running back. Even if Eckler's in, I guess if you're really desperate at running back, but I prefer any of the ones on this list if Eckler's in.
Yeah, so I had 2 sneaky buys here.
Okay.
Go get Sean Tucker, in my opinion.
I like that.
Don't get crazy. If you have the room, you have the room. If you don't, fine. I think Sean Tucker should be stashed on all your benches. And I think you're going to hate this one because this one's super deep, I think.
Okay.
But if Eckler's ruled out next game, I am adding some cautionary Elijah Dotsons.
Okay, I thought you were going to go Isaiah Spiller.
No, I think Elijah gets pulled up here. I think he was a healthy scratch. He's the one that's like the most athletic, the most like Eckler.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's can't happen, obviously. I mean, because we saw just week 1 crazy things happen that we didn't expect. So I don't think it's a bad.
It's deep.
Yeah,
It's
for
deep.
sure. That's going to be one that
don't drop somebody crazy on it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is one where you'd stash him on your bench and see how it happens. See what happens. See if he does get some usage. See what happens with Eckler as the week moves on. And then what we go from there. Now, I was going to ask you too with Gus and Justice Hill. I've seen multiple people say different ways because Justice Hill was kind of the one that got more of the work, right?
I really
I prefer Gus. I think. I mean, I don't really
any of them.
I don't necessarily either, but in terms of,
because I think Melvin Gordon just muddies it up.
Probably.
Man,
You're telling me
I don't want any of them.
Any of the running backs at all in the whole list?
I don't. I'll tell you right now.
Or Gus and Justice.
I'm not going Justice. I'm not going Gus. I'm not going Kelley. Gainwell has upside, like you said. Zach Moss has weird upside and weird potential options that could happen to give him even more.
I stashed him in a lot of leagues.
And then Kyron, I think you have to stash. Like, those are the ones that, like, to me, can play out almost immediately. Now Gainwell's hurt and Moss is coming off a broken arm.
The other thing I want to make about Gainwell, I think honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if, from what I've read, because I've been looking it up a lot with Gainwell, was that he played through the rib injury. Like, he just got banged up on his ribs. It's kind of like bruised ribs and whatnot. Everything's structurally sound from what I've seen. There's no fractures, nothing like that, just bruised. And my thought then is, on a short week, I know some people will say on a short week, why risk him and throw him out there? But my thought was more of, on a short week, why practice him and expose him to hits when they know he's going to be playing in a couple days? So I'm torn on it a little bit, but I still think he's the guy for me.
I think Swift gets more work, but we are running low on time, so we need to bounce over to these waiver wire wide receivers. I'm going to list them all out, and then we're going to talk about them as we go through the slides, and kind of we'll talk about them as a whole, and we'll kind of go through the slides there. So we got Puka as your number 1, Rashid Shaheed as number 2, Zay Jones is number 3, number 4, Tutu Atwell, number 5, Darnell Mooney, number 6, Allen Robinson, and then I got some deep ones for you guys at the end of the conversation. Ooh. So, starting with Puka, he's my number 1 waiver claim, dude.
The whole time.
I am so mad I didn't buy into this hype. I just kind of ignored it. I saw it. I've had him on a team, dropped him on a team, went somewhere else. Didn't buy it. This could be a huge year for him.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I'm a little bit more cautionary in terms of like the long-term potential. I like him short-term, but again, I mean, it is a tough matchup coming up this week. I'm going to like him for 3 and 4, I think.
Has he got Seattle this week? No, that was this week.
It's the 49ers this week. So
their secondary didn't look amazing.
Right. Yeah.
It didn't look bad.
If I'm getting him, I mean, he's my top waiver or wide receiver grab. And so, I mean, I'm still, so out of that group that you named, the only ones I'm putting in like waiver claims for, if I have waiver priorities, are Puka and Rashid. So the other ones are guys that I would add after waivers run, which I think that's an underrated thing that people don't understand, is because to me, I like, if it's not a guy I really want, I'm waiting till the next day when waivers run and then just adding them as a free agent so I don't waste my waiver priority and can keep it for more. Or I'm putting in, like, if it's Fab League, I'm putting in like very minimal Fab bids and very, or $0 Fab bids. Like, I'm selectively aggressive when it comes to that.
Yeah. So I think that, I mean, I think Rashid is the one that I want to, so like, we both really like Puka. You're a little bit more caution about its long-term success on this team once Cooper Kupp comes back. I think it's a great insurance. Plus, I think he'll carve out a role once Cooper Kupp is back. Rashid Shaheed, though, is a guy that I'm struggling to see what sort of role he maintains past this week. Now, we saw him dominate with Derek Carr, and I think these boom games will happen, but I just don't know when you plug Rashid Shaheed in your lineup ever. And again, it was against Tennessee, and their secondary is what we like. I mean, him, Michael Thomas, and Chris Olave, they scored together about 52, 53 points.
Fair. Now, I will say this. The one thing, I mean, I'm a guy that loves the underlying metrics, right?
Yeah.
Rashid Shaheed, last year, his numbers were awesome.
Yeah.
Like, all his underlying metrics were awesome. And then comes out week 1. I know the matchup, but week 1 and puts up numbers again. Now, looking at fantasy points per route run, I was looking at some numbers. He was 4th best on the week, ahead of guys like Calvin Ridley, Puka, Olave. The only ones he was behind were Tyreek, Jacoby Myers, and Ayuk. Now, like, I don't know, like the dude just gets it done. It feels like every time. Like I've seen a bunch of charts talking about like wide receiver separation. I've seen charts talking about like his yards per route run, targets per route run, all that kind of stuff, and all of it is like really good for him every single time. And so like it just makes me want to have that kind of guy around.
I just struggle to see. I mean, he at best is a wide receiver 3, unless you're telling me that he overtakes more of a Michael Thomas, or Michael Thomas maybe is the Michael Thomas insurance. Well, like that's where I'm struggling with Rashid.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. But I mean, I guess when it comes down to it, like to me, it's like he still played on the same team and outdid him in less routes and less snaps.
Yeah.
Like, and last year, and like, it's not just like it was one game. It's all last year when he got opportunity, he did good. Like, it could turn out to be this guy's like turns into my Kadarius Toney, where I always fall for him, basically, type of thing. But the difference to me is that he hasn't been hurt so far, and he has been like productive.
I want to add 2 to this list, and one is likely not deep, and it just depends if he's out there, because I have seen him in a couple 10 teams. Romeo Doubs. I think if Romeo Doubs is on the waiver wire, he's an instant add for me.
Okay. Do you like him over these guys?
I'd probably take him at number 2.
Okay. Yeah, I have him lower than almost all these guys. Dude, he only had 4 targets. He caught 2 touchdowns, so it was kind of fluky to me. He had only 4 targets in a game where, like, he got. I mean, to me, he played a ton. He played a ton of snaps, ton of routes. So his like targets per route run wasn't very good. His things like that. He got 4, like I said, 4 targets or maybe 4 catches for whatever yards and 2 touchdowns.
I thought it was 4 catches.
It might have been 4 catches and 2 touchdowns. To me, that's not that great when now it's possible Christian Watson's back. Like
he got 5 targets.
5 targets. What did Jaden Reed get? If you
I think I would probably Jaden Reed got 5 targets as well, only 2 receptions.
Okay, so they both got 5 targets. And to me, Christian Watson's the guy when he comes back. And sounds like he might be back this week, or at the very latest next week, is my guess.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if Jordan Love's throwing 30 times a game, I mean, the number 2 is Dobbs, right?
I think it's Reed, but like so I know Dobbs outperformed him this week from fantasy points perspective, but the entire preseason too, both Musgrave and Jaden Reed had higher target shares, higher yards per route run, higher targets per route run, everything that you want to see over Dobbs. And Jaden Reed has the draft capital, and Christian Watson has the draft capital. To me, Dobbs. I don't think
Dobbs is good. going to pass up Christian Watson. That's not like, I just think Christian Watson now is showing that he's not super healthy all the time, and it's kind of scary.
No, that's understandable. I mean, especially if you think he's going to be out longer, I don't mind it. But my thing is like, I think Watson's going to be back this week or next week, and then Dobbs to me it goes to number 2 at best, probably number 3 or 4, and then between him and Rashid Shaheed, like Rashid Shaheed could be 2 or 3. Like he's not going to be 4, in my opinion, and like. And when you look at Rashid Shaheed versus Romeo Dobbs in terms of underlying metrics, it's not even in the contest. Like Shaheed,
it just doesn't. It feels like, yeah. I think it feels like false hope here.
No, I can understand. I think Dobbs technically has a path to being 1 easier than Shaheed has to be 1. And so I see that like because like Olave is better than Watson.
Yeah.
So. I get that, like, but I don't know. I mean, it's tough. I can understand the Dobbs love. A lot of people like Dobbs, and I do think he's worth a grab if he's out there though. Like, I just think it's kind of false hope in the sense of the other guy's going to be back soon and that kind of thing.
The last, and I'm just going to name it and then we'll move on. Last deep target of wide receiver for me was Josh Downs. He opened up with like 3 targets right away. This is a deeper one. This may be a longer play. I think he's interesting to watch. I think Michael Pittman kind of doesn't do what he did last week. He had 6 targets on the final drive. It was ridiculous. With that being said, let's go to some tight end waiver wire finds. So we have Musgrave, Hayden Hurst, Hunter Henry, and Jake Ferguson. Dude, I gotta say, I'm starting to love Musgrave, not the Robbie love.
Yeah.
But I think Jake Ferguson's either 1 or 2 here for me.
Oh, okay. Okay. He did get 7 targets, I believe.
7 targets.
In a good offense.
In an offense that didn't even need to throw.
Was it you? I think it was you that started hyping him up more as the offseason went on about talking about how he's like a more athletic version of Dalton Schultz.
And I think there's like I was going crazy at seeing those targets. And we saw this with Schultz the year that he went off. We saw him get fed week 1 just like this.
Yeah, for sure. No, I thought about that between the two because I do think he kind of probably has more upside than Henry and Hurst. I think Hurst was a guy that I was pretty in on. Preseason for sure. I had him way above consensus. One of my highest.
Feels like he had a ceiling game though. No.
Yeah, it's possible. The encouraging thing to me is like none of those receivers feel great. Like he has a clear shot to being top 2 in targets, and that's what we want when we're looking at deep tight ends. So he has a clear shot. He could lead the team in targets, honestly. Yeah. I mean, between Chark, Thielen, Mingo. I mean, whereas Ferguson is going to be probably 3rd at best. Like I wouldn't see him. I mean, I guess he could be 2nd if kind of Cooks and Gallup kind of cannibalize each other a little bit, but like
it doesn't seem that Gallup's really going to. Based on week 1, Gallup seems like an afterthought behind Ferguson, behind Cooks.
Yeah, that's what it seems like right now.
I think Ferguson has a shot to be the number 2. Maybe that was what the Giants were allowing, though.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I'm not saying it's not because he does have a chance to. I still think Cooks will be 2nd on the team in targets and Ferguson 3rd. But I mean, it's a good offense.
Last piece because I know we're running out of time here. Luke Musgrave. It's their number 1 guy. Was Robbie right? Was Robbie dead on with the Luke Musgrave hype?
I think he was. I bought into it some more. Yeah, I bought into it some more as he was hyping him up. I bought into it more, especially when we saw like the utilization in the preseason. I mean, I know you don't want to use like preseason for sure as a kind of thing, but I had sent it to you guys. I think Dwayne McFarland was talking about like the yards per route run, targets per route run, target percentage, route participation, especially. That was a big key to me. The route participation in the preseason was like over 80%.
Yeah,
dude, that's what you want. I mean, and we saw he had an okay game. I mean, tight ends were awful this week, just in general.
He fell in front. The Ian Harditz post on Twitter. He fell in front of the goal line.
He fell, and then the other one was that overthrow.
Overshot.
Yeah, he could have had a monster game. He could have been tight end 1 on the week. I mean, because I think it was Hunter Henry was tight end 1, and Hayden Hurst was tight end 2.
You know what? Let's keep Musgrave number 1. We'll agree there. I do think I go Ferguson before Hayden Hurst and Hunter Henry.
That's understandable. I mean, especially if you're shooting for upside, I can get it.
Yeah.
I loved the Hayden Hurst call, like I said in the beginning, because of the path, and then the Hunter Henry. I kind of bought into a little bit as the offseason went on. Shout out to Hayden Winks on that one, because he was beating the drum over and over for Hunter Henry as the guy to get, considering that the Patriots pass catchers were not very well established. Juju kind of still banged up. There was a lot of reports about his knee, and Henry was kind of the guy that was going to be the best pass catcher for them, and then played out like that in week 1. But long season, right?
Last question. Do we talk about Adam Troutman? No. We don't talk about Bruno no more? No.
Yeah, I don't think so. I can't do it. There's too many guys out there where Troutman would be like maybe in your Scott Fishbowl kind of situation where it's a big tight end premium. You take a flyer and see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I was going to say, there's a couple things. I don't know if I can sway you on the Rashid Shaheed love that I want to leave people with. Listen to a couple of these little nuggets here. We got Rashid Shaheed was a 3.56 yards per route run in week 1. Only trailed Tyreek and Brandon Ayuk among players with 10 plus routes. Going back to last year, only Tyreek with a 3.26 has some higher yards per route run than Shaheed, who has 2.72 for every player in the NFL with at least 100 routes run. He has that level. Then top rookie wide receiver seasons since 2008 in terms of yards per route run. 1, Odell Beckham. 2, Victor Cruz. 3, Justin Jefferson. 4, Rashid Shaheed. 6, I don't know who was 5 there because it jumps, but 6, Jamar Chase. 7, Chris Olave. 8, AJ Brown. That's a good list. It's a good list to be on. So it's, to me, like, I'm loving it. To me, he's worth. I know you're not as big on him. Maybe I sold you. Maybe I didn't. But
a little bit, because this is only his second year, and I thought this was like his third or fourth, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is, like, he's just been good since he's come in the league and since he's been out there. I mean, I don't know. Like, he was good with Michael Thomas out there. He's good without Michael Thomas out there. I don't know. I'm going to be putting waivers in for him in leagues. He's not my top priority. Obviously, I have Puka ahead of him. I think we can agree on that. Anytime you get 15 targets, that's pretty ridiculous. So
I can't control like some of these trades I might offer for Puka because
we might have to talk you down a little bit. Yeah. Step back from that ledge.
Any last thoughts on waivers for the week, Norton? I like the last bit on Rashid, by the way, because it has convinced me a little bit, and now I'm going to go look through all my leagues.
Got to look through and see. Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth. I think there's a lot of guys actually worth waivers and fab this week. These usually, I feel like that's what it is a lot in week 1 of most leagues because it's really unsettled. We don't know. We only have. And especially when you go off of usage, when you're seeing usage, obviously that can change. But when you see usage that's encouraging, take the shot because, if you get a guy that hits, so if you get a guy in week 1 and that guy hits, you have now that guy for the whole year. It's a more of an impact on your roster than it would be if you get a guy late. You know what I mean? So to me, when it comes to waivers, be selectively aggressive. And what I mean by that is, go aggressively after the guys you want, and then when it comes to the other guys, put minimal, kind of keep them honest bids if you don't think they're difference makers.
I like it. We will be back tomorrow with, you and I won't be here, but tomorrow we're back. The AdBod crew is back. We're going to do a buy and sell trade target show on Wednesday. Thursday, Robbie and I will hit your DFS. And then Sunday, I think it's you and Robbie this week with some live start sit questions. So we got those scheduled. Be on the lookout for that. And yeah, Norton, for myself, for Norton, peace. Thank you for watching our episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
If you aren't already following us on Twitter, check us out at DadBodFS.
We'll be posting all of our best clips and videos to all of our social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on there at DadBod Fantasy Squad.
Lastly, if you'd rather just listen, we make sure we post our audio of each episode on all the major streaming platforms. Stick with us all season long so together we can count our trophies